Welcome, everyone, League people and RJC, which is Racial Justice Committee, and everyone else who's here. Thank you so much for coming. I'm hoping that you spread the word because this is an important thing for all of us because Amherst Media means a lot to this community and always has, and we hope that it's just going to get better and better as the new facility gets built, and I just can't wait to see it. I can't wait for my grands and all the other people out there to see it. So without further ado, I'm Andrea Battle. I'm a member of not only the League, but also the League's Racial Justice Committee. And we think that Amherst Media is going to take over with Artie Mccollum, who is the president of the board of directors, okay? And we have Jim, am I gonna mess up your name? Scott, the Scott? Yeah, the Scott. Tell me, Jim.
It's close enough. It's close
Okay.
enough. It's let's go.
Let's go, see?
It's a little French.
Anyway, that's why
It's like let's go.
Yes, well, now I know. All right, Artie, you're gonna start us off, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. I'm giving it to you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Andrea, for that introduction. Just so that everybody knows, my name is Artie Mccollum. I am the president of the board of Directors for Amherst Media. I have been on the board since December of 2019 is when I joined. For people that don't know, my background is actually not in media or communications or any of those things. Computers. My background is actually in biology, right? And so I'm a biologist by training, but I had joined the board because, again, I think that it is important for dialogue, to hear perspectives, to let people talk and express their opinions. And so that was one of the reasons that I joined. And so that was in December of 2019. I joined the board, started off, and then boom, COVID hit. And we have been doing, being the president of a board virtually for the past 2 years. I became president last fall. And so that, again, I'm coming up on essentially about a year in the position and have really enjoyed, getting to do this and getting to do some of these events. So I would thank very much for the League of Women Voters for letting us come and talk to you. Jim Lesko is also here. He is the executive director. He, again, has all the knowledge and skills and, all of that stuff that the board members don't have as much of. So that is really good. We currently have about 10 board members. Everybody's always able to reach out to us, but it's good to be here. So thank you for that. I do have a few quick slides that I will share to kind of cover a little bit of basic information and then sort of give you some updates on kind of some things that have been going on. And then Jim has some information. He's going to talk about some like local voice storytelling that he has been sort of working on. All right.
Well,
Can everybody see my screen?
yeah.
All right. So I was again in looking at some of the other presentations that have gone, that we've done. They always started with a picture of the old Amherst Media building. And so I thought this is the picture of the new Amherst Media building. So that's kind of where we currently are located. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes here. Amherst Media is it's a community-driven nonprofit whose interests are in public access, information, communication, technology center. Amherst Media really does strive to help build community. It's one of the things that I, again, am really like about the organization is that we often allow people to come together, although in COVID, that has been more challenging than maybe prior to the pandemic. But it's a way to again allow people to come together, have conversations, do communication, share information, and again listen to each other. And so I think that that's one of the things that is in the vision statement there, right? It empowers Amherst to present issues and talk about communication, regardless of the experience that they're coming from, where they come from. And I think that, free speech and giving a voice to all of people is one of those aspects that, again, is very important to Amherst Media. A lot of our producers that come and do that gets to share their stories, right? And they may be different from the other stories that, somebody else experienced, that I experienced. So, that's sort of some of the big points and statements, the values and visions that we have sort of for Amherst Media. I will also say that Amherst Media has been around for 46 years, right, Jim? Is that right? One of the oldest running public access stations in the country. So we sort of, Amherst Media has a few things. We have sort of 3 dynamic cable channels covering public access, educational access, and governmental access. Those are the 3, we could talk about PEG, right? Public access, educational access, and government access. And so, we have those 3 channels. We also have the live YouTube channel, or the YouTube channel that runs things for people who don't have cable and don't have access to that. As more and more people sort of cut the cord, we're looking, this allows people to still get that. And that's one of the things that I know my family has used many times, wanting to be involved and wanting to hear about what's going on with town committees or school committees or information. And so that's been useful. But, Amherst Media covers, the town council meetings, debates, committee hearings, other, events that are around the town. We've some of the different town events that staff are able to get to video and create events. Again, we do have the YouTube channel for online streaming, where people can watch that as well. The third one is a similar thing, covering town events. I know, Amherst Media was at some of the Juneteenth events that have been going on, has covered some of the Memorial Day, Veterans Day, things like that. And then again, there's also the opportunity of coverage of musical, literary, cultural events and things that are happening around in town. So this, after 31 years in the prior building there on College Street, Amherst Media has moved to a new temporary home. So due to the hard work, extremely hard work of Jim, Alexis, and Yana, who are the 2 staff members that work for Amherst Media, they were able to move all of the equipment, all of the materials that were needed from the old building to the new home. And again, that picture at the top is sort of the new home. The temporary home the address is 101 University Drive, Suite B. It's right next to the University Drive post office there. So if you're pulling in, the post office on the left, there's another building on the right, and that is where Amherst Media is. For anybody that's interested or wants to go, right, you pull on in there, there's plenty of parking. And then you need to go up to the 2nd floor, whether via stairs or via the elevator, kind of go through the double doors, and then there is a door on the right that is Suite B4. Jim has been working very diligently to get signage so that people know that we are there. Because the first time that I went there wasn't any signs and I was a little lost, but you can always, I know Jim's working hard with that. As with the old location, the new location has most of the abilities that we had. There's still the computers, there's still podcasting room, there's still equipment that people can use as well. There's office space for our staff. The one thing that we do not really have in the new space is a studio, and that is something that, again, Jim and the staff have been working to see where we might be able to use spaces for a studio. So that's, again, the temporary location. Anybody is welcome, right, to come by. The new location, this temporary location, has been very good because it's near to the southwest part of campus, and so it's pretty accessible for some of the students. So we know that we have had some UMass students that have been coming in because they're hearing about it and they're around, and it's a little bit easier for them to get to. And while we are happy to be in a new place, right, there was definitely a little sad to move out of the one where we've been in for 31 years, but we're also really looking forward to the new home. So, one of the things that I've been talking about and the board has been talking about and Jim has been talking about is that we move to a temporary location, right? So this is not a long-term solution for where we are. And so, the new home, with a ton of work, a large amount of work between, prior board of directors, the current board of director members, Jim, prior staff and current staff, Amherst Media has essentially obtained all the clearances to begin building on the new site there at Main and Gray. And the other really exciting, extremely exciting part is that Amherst Media has paid off the mortgage on that property. So we own, pop up a picture, but we own both property, two lots of property there, and the mortgage has been paid off. So that is, it's whereas before that wasn't quite done. So that's been, again, with a lot of work from everybody. Again, Amherst Media is also continuing to work with sort of financing options as we move forward with the new home. And so here is just, a picture of sort of where, so that everybody can know where we're talking about, right? Main Street, you can see sort of there in the middle with the blue PVTA bus stop signs on it. Gray Street is the one that comes off that sort of heads towards the high school and the middle school. And so both of those lots are the ones that Amherst Media has purchased. And again, as I mentioned before, it has paid off that mortgage. So that's very exciting. One of the really big draws of this, or a big draw of this, is, it's close to downtown. It's actually within the cultural district, right? There's now a new sign up there right at the corner that says entering Amherst Cultural District. It's within walking distance to the middle school and high schools. And given that, a portion of our members are students and that we work with both high school students and college students, to give them internships, to get them opportunity to learn, it will be great to be there with that. The other one thing that's not on here, but as the town rolls out the internet, the town internet, the iNet that they provide for, again, all of the schools, all of the municipal buildings, this is easily and accessible to that, so that when the new building is built, we will be able to be on the town iNet to, broadcast easily as possible. So, now that we have clearance, now that we can build, now it has really been working on fundraising. And despite the pandemic, which has changed fundraising a lot, the Amherst Media has still been very successful, right? We have a capital campaign committee that is actively working on fundraising and have had several successful grants. So Amherst Media received a Mass Cultural Council capital grant, again, meant for organizations that are working, that meet Mass Cultural Council abilities and do that sort of work. And so we have received that. Those grant funding cannot actually be released until it's matched. So that's one of the ways that Mass Cultural Council verifies that you are still raising money, is that you've been able to match it. And I can say that, Amherst Media has successfully been able to raise the match for those funds. So that again, is twice the money, that the grant, that the capital grant provided. Amherst Media has also received a capital grant from the Beveridge Family Foundation. And again, they came out and were very interested and very excited about funding this. They work in Western Massachusetts. And so this was a really big and exciting thing. There has been a lot of work by several board members on this grant fundraising, as well as within the capital campaign, the capital committee. And so that is, it's felt very good to have people that believe in this organization to move forward. I will just mention that we are not entirely there. It's not as if we have made all the money that we need to. So with the capital campaign, we'll still be out there working. We encourage anybody that's interested and able to, that would be interested to help out or have questions, to reach out to any of the board members. You can reach out to myself. You can reach out to Jim. You can reach out to any of the other board members that you may know or may be interested in learning more about. And then, yeah, once we have successfully done that, we look forward to, completing this campaign and again, breaking ground for our new building. So I will stop there. Stop sharing my screen. Jim, what have I missed? What should I pass it off to you and let you add that again that I have forgotten?
Well, I don't need to say anything. No, just kidding. Thank you, Artie. I mean, Artie covered a lot of the basics and brought you up to date on where we are with the building. What I want to do is start by thanking the league for your involvement for the years. And I prepared a statement that I'm going to read, and I apologize, but I just thought it was too important to try to riff too, because there is such a deep history here. So if you will, please, I'm going to make it as fast as I can, but hopefully not too boring. I've always seen the missions of both the Amherst League of Women Voters and Amherst Media as being very similar. The civic engagement through presenting information and providing opportunities. Nearly 30 years ago, the League saw the potential for using local media to reach a wider audience. In 1994, the position of media director was established within the League. The posts included arranging for TV coverage of League meetings and programs, recruiting personnel for TV crews and to tape them, and coordinating League planners with Amherst Community Television, better known as ACTV by many. We are now Amherst Media. Long before my arrival at ACTV Amherst Media in 2007, there was an established working relationship with League members, shooting and hosting their own shows. Alice Swift, who I saw is here tonight, Mary Jane Lose, Janice Ratner, Alyssa Campbell, Phyllis Lair, to name only a few. And I apologize for all those that I have left off. The League initiated live town election night coverage, as well as weekly TV shows through the League lens. That covered issues of local interest and interviews with elected officials. I've always enjoyed the activity and buzz which surrounded us all working to get the local election results up and out to the community. This joint effort with your poll workers calling the precinct results, our graphics ready for numerical input, the candidates and residents knew, usually within 30 minutes of the polls closing, the election outcome. This avoided a long wait for the morning papers. Many other League of Women Voter members have been active ACTV members and producers before becoming involved with the League of Women Voters. Some current members, such as Cynthia Brubaker, Adrian Terezi, and Andrea Battles, have all served on our board of directors. This crossover of individual gives testimony to our collective core values, one that promotes a true democracy where each individual has the right to have their voice heard and to participate as informed, active voters. In 2019, I attended the League of Women Voters Amherst 80 Years of Action dinner, and Amherst Media was there to videotape the historic event. In recent decades, the League has emphasized citizen education on the structure of government, from citizen schools to the study of principles of government, to local Know Your Town surveys and publications, voter education and rights. From support for the Voting Rights Act of Amendments of 1982 to your current push to ensure access to the polls for every citizen. In 2018, the Amherst League received the Gene Hagerty Award for Community Services from Amherst Media. Again, many of our Hagerty awardees have also been League members. In January 2019, a League of Women Voters program titled Byline with Stan Rosenberg was created in cooperation with Amherst Media to inform the public about government and other issues. Former State Senator, Stan Rosenberg interviewed local and regional officials. For decades, Amherst Media has been the key player ensuring government transparency within the town of Amherst. Through our multi-year contracts, we have been obligated to cover such meetings as Select Board, now Town Council, school committees, Planning Board, and Finance Committee, as well as town meetings when they were still a part of town government. This critical responsibility to be the recorder of discussions and votes that impact all who reside in the town of Amherst was never taken lightly by us. The town residents wanted accountability and the ability to participate in their local government even when they could not attend. These years of documentation currently help to comprise our over 4,500 uploaded video collection on archive.org. Since the COVID pandemic, we have had to adjust our equipment and our routine to pull in the various remote town meetings, and to make sure those required to be shown live continued as before. The town made adjustments as the pandemic continued into its second year, and we adjusted our operations to pull the live streams through our YouTube account while making it watchable through our streaming capacity onto our cable channels. Recently, the state legislature has indicated that they may demand that all official town municipal committees and councils must be made available live online. This will be a monumental undertaking in logistics, equipment, training, and curation. Amherst Media has asked the town to meet in the very near future to discuss and plan how this additional work would be met and whose responsibilities it would become. Online and virtual connectivity has arrived. There are many creative ways in which the town can make citizen transactions so much easier. We believe Amherst Media, as well as the community, should have input into these various digital opportunities. There does exist a very real question. Does the town want or even see the need for Amherst Media to cover its governmental meetings anymore? In June of 2022 town council meeting, while the council was discussing Amherst Media and questioning the town manager on the numerous vacant town properties and why Amherst Media could not have been given access to one of them, and thank you for your letter of support on that. The following comment was made by Councilor Andy Steinberg, and I paraphrase. Amherst Media historically has done a great job for many years, but now the town is recording its own meetings and doesn't really need those services anymore. We find this statement very disturbing, and one that should inform all of us that the next cable contract between the town and Amherst Media in 2027 could very well end the role of an outside entity ensuring transparency, unless there is a very strong community outcry and demand for continuance of a third party. While researching the meaning of transparency, I found this on Google. Transparency exists on government websites largely at the munificence of officials. Now, I have a vocabulary, but I really had to look up that word. When I looked up the meaning of munificence, I found the following: the quality of action of being lavishly generous, great generosity. You must be thankful for his munificence. That did not make me feel very good or any better about the town's role as its own provider of all that is transparent. This realignment will need citizen input and adoption. As many, if not all of you know, Amherst Media was told that we had lost our long-time lease back at their 246 College Street facility in 2011. Around that time, we were realizing we had to make ourselves more public as we strive to reconcile our inevitable loss of our longtime production house and seek the support of our Amherst community. One of our then board members advised me that we should refrain from positioning ourselves as promoters and defenders of free speech, that it was passé and stodgy. What we needed was to position ourselves as a vital economic development engine for the town's future. I strongly disagreed with that person then, insisting that the core of our survival as a democracy was the continuance of organizations and institutions like Amherst Media that stood firm on the principles of access to and for all voices, regardless of ethnic, racial, or economic standings within the community. I still believe we are additionally a critical engine in the economic development of the town, not only in promotion of our cultural educational offerings, but in the very fact that we, Amherst Media, ensures the inclusivity of its residents' ideas and input into the very political fabric of the town. Throughout these many years, Amherst Media has continued its commitment to advocate and provide opportunities for increased civic dialogue. These programs come in a variety of topics, multiple personalities as hosts. Whether it was Malaka Samdani's Critical Connections program about being Muslim in America, or Amakar and Demetria Shabaz's Difficult Dialogues, which has discussed issues of race, reparations, criminal justice, just to name a couple, these type of programs brought forth important, under-discussed issues and provided a venue for people seldom seen or heard in the general media. That is what free speech must continue to do. That is why we have created our news program, Amherst Weekly Report. With the help of our interns, many coming from the journalism department of UMass, we are striving to engage our community in issues that the community see as being important. We want to expand the discussions around issues to include more voices for people seldom heard from. We've all seen the national erosion of individual rights and increased voter suppression. This shouldn't be the time to have to defend the importance of free speech, but rather the time to show inclusively how important it truly is. More electoral information, more meaningful dialogues and inequalities that exist, and more people learning to produce their own stories and in their own language if so desired. This is not the time to take for granted organizations like Amherst Media and the League of Women Voters, organizations that present the facts and encourage people to become informed, involved, actively speaking up. It's time, as it always has been, to raise our voices. Thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to your questions as we move forward tonight.
Okay, thank you so much, Artie, and thank you, Jim, very much so. A lot, you said a lot. And I think that the time we are at now is the time where we really need an Amherst Media and various public venues throughout the United States, because we really do need to have people who are going to actually voice what the community wants or cares about. Does anybody have any questions or comments while we're, now that we finished getting our presentation? Okay, Meg? Unmute.
Hi,
Okay.
I'm Meg Gage. I really appreciated your remarks, Jim. And I would have made if you hadn't made them, I might have said something about how important access to the governmental processes is, and how important Amherst Media is in providing that. And you said that eloquently and better than I could, but it is, just to reiterate what you said, it is a crucial component of any democracy, is that people who, voters and other residents, have accurate information. So, and know what's going on in real time. So I'm deeply grateful to you for that. And maybe later I'll ask a different question on another subject, but the question I'm asking now, based on what you said, to be sure I understand, is the town thinking that they're going to do their own recording and reporting to the public on their own meetings when they feel like it, or rather than an independent nonprofit? Could you say a little more about that? That was I hadn't heard that before.
I wouldn't say
Doesn't
that.
sound too good.
Well, I wouldn't say that I can't speak for them, okay? But
Yeah, no
by
kidding.
their actions, and by what Mr. Steinberg said at that meeting, and it didn't get refuted by the town manager, who was also in that meeting. It was a full council meeting. Shows that there is some discussion or some feeling that they are capable of doing, and they are. Let's be honest. What I was trying to say is that the world has changed. Everyone's more accepting and willing to do online participation. Is it true participation? No, it's not the same as being in the room. I love to be in the room with all of you. It's a very different feeling, right? You can get more out of it. You can feel the room. I can't do it this electronically. I think there is, if you look at the posting of their meetings, recordings, I would say right now that they're lacking in curation a little bit, and meaning you can't find them that easy or right away. And I will give you one example, Meg, and maybe this will help. When we had the original contract in 2017, Finance Committee was written in as one to be live coverage. In the past, we couldn't do it live out of that first room. Everyone remembers that little first room in Town Hall where they used to meet, that little room right by the clerk's office. So we couldn't go live in the old days out of there. But what we would do is record it, and within 24 hours, usually try to get it up for people to see. So it was still in the new contract that it was going to be live. When the charter changed, Andy Steinberg, who was also one of the representatives for the Comcast contract, and also with the town's contract with us, and as the chair of the Finance Committee, took out that language in the revision and put in only upon the request of the chair would it be live. And so this year, as it went along, we were getting more and more calls. Why aren't we showing the finance committee? Well, we weren't being told to cover it. And we were relying on their recording it electronically and sending it to us. So we started dialoguing with town councilors and others. And still to this day, there's a lack of a quick turnaround to us to be able to repost. Does that make sense? So there's an example currently that I found to be upsetting, because finance is such a critical committee meeting, especially given the situation that the town finds itself in. So I can't answer your question directly, other than why I put in there that we've been asking for quite a while to meet and really deal with this, and not wait until March of 2023 when the state's going to potentially demand this coverage.
The state is saying that it has to be done by a separate party as
No,
opposed to the town. Oh,
No, they're just telling the towns and cities, get ready, you're going to have to continue to make this open meeting law adaptable to all these remote meetings.
Mhm.
And the town's doing that in its own way by recording them, but then getting it, finding them and getting them up there in time. There's some lack at times of that.
wow.
I thought, Andrea, I would turn to unpin you guys so that we're all part of one collective discussion. Is that all right? So we're democratizing.
Yay!
And remove. Mhm. Right. And if everybody who's would like to show their pictures, please do that.
Okay, can I ask, do we have a tentative time where you're gonna break ground? Or are we still in the final stages of that for the new Amherst media? Jim or Artie?
What we're talking about right now is that we hope to have a general contractor by the beginning of the year, January or so of next year, and that would depend on their availability.
Mhm.
I think, Adrian, you have your hand up.
Yes. Unmute.
Yes, I did. Hi, Jim. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this forum tonight. Jim, I'd like to ask a follow-up. Since it is hard written into the Comcast contract that you undertook with the town regarding finance committees being live broadcast only by acquiescence by the chair, what would you suggest to the rest of us in terms of petitioning our town government, given the fact that we are in an era of financial challenges, certainly going ahead for the March 2023 debt exclusion override? It seems to us that in all of our interests, and in the particular interests of the League of Women Voters, that we make this a transparent process. And I have a follow-up. Jim, you've opened up your studio for the League to present many fora regarding issues that was present in our town. With the lack of a studio to bring in discussants regarding the finances in this town, and broadcasting it both live and with the immediacy that you're able to do, unlike the town, how do you see us going forward? What do you see the role for not only individual residents, but for the League and other organizations who believe in democracy and in the transparency of government, so that the town does its recordings, its live streamings, and its meetings, yet we have another nonprofit public access station, cable station, all of our stations to facilitate what we want to do and know as citizens? That was
Okay.
rather long, but I think you,
I think there's a two-part there, yeah. The first part is, I believe the citizens have a right to address their local government on accessibility and questions on showing any meeting. So, you know, the thing that is really very strange for us right now is we're only contracted for cable. We're not even, if we don't put something up online, that's not even in our contract. In 2010, I made the decision and convinced the board in 2010 that we had to put things up online because that's where the world was going. We're not funded to do that. We have no money. We lose money if someone was like Artie say, hey, I'm going to cut my cable cord because I can watch everything I need to watch on YouTube, on your channel. And some people do that. So, you know, that's just an option. I would encourage people to get involved and figure whether you as an organization address it or as individuals, that's to be seen. Your second part about access to league and other organizations, we have a podcast studio that we're using right now for our news. That's what I'm in right now. It's not bad, but it's not 30 by 30 studio. So we're negotiating and talking to some of the organizations in town about potential space to set up a temporary studio and leave it set up for us to show up and have you in to have a regular show in there. And hopefully, I can't really say who we're talking to right now, but I hope we can do something. If not, we'll find a way. I mean, there's public space. And with public space comes, we can pull our equipment in and do shows wherever we want to do them. And, you know, going live now, whether it be on cable live or on cable and streaming, that's to be seen on the location. But we will work with everyone. I mean, we're just settling in. I have boxes I haven't unpacked yet, which scare me because I'm still trying to find certain files. But we will work with you. One thing about this crew, Alexis and Yana, two young women that graduated from your local schools. Alexis went on to Hampshire College in filmmaking. Yana went to Hoyle Community College in video making. They're both very hardworking, dedicated, and committed to make this town work. They believe in this, what we're talking about tonight. And it's the first time ever I've had a staff that are from Amherst. I hope I answered your question, Peter.
That to echo how committed they are, right? I mean, I've moved many times in my life, and moving is always a challenge for myself and my family. And then again, these two women, along with Jim, as well as a little bit of help from the board, although not a ton of help from the board. Honestly, they did this entire move from the old building to the new facility while also doing all of these other things. Dee Shabazz told a really great story of somebody came in, Alexis was packing boxes, somebody from the public came in, had a question, needed some access, you know, essentially Alexis, you know, stopped in the middle of whatever she was putting in the box, went and helped them take care of whatever they needed to do to get their project done, and then essentially went back to continuing to move. And so they deserve a lot of credit, Jim as well, again, of getting, you know, doing a job of moving, which is in itself a job, while also managing their regular jobs as well. And so that, to me, that's one of the commitments that, I mean, the board was able to try and celebrate that as much as we could, but it really shows how committed they are to the organization, and again, to access for the town.
Let me just ask one question.
Sure.
Are we still recording like the town council meetings though?
Yes.
With Amherst? Okay, I'm just, you know, okay. Okay, who had Meg? Did you have your hand up?
Did Darcy have her hand up? Anyway,
Yeah.
just another component of the work that Amherst Media does is community projects. So in North Amherst, with the District 1 Neighborhood Association, we are working to create an interpretive history trail along the Mill River of the many mills and amazing families who produce things all up and down the Mill River. By 1776, when the Revolution was fought, there were already 6 mills, and there are cellar holes and remnants, and people are finding things, and particularly Alexis has been really helpful. We don't know quite yet what we're doing, but she's helped us, and Yana too, interview older people who remember North Amherst back then. Summer Street used to be called Little Lithuania. There were only 2 households on Summer Street that did not speak Lithuanian at home. And we're helping them now that we're doing the archaeological. We got funding from CPA to do archaeological research of the sites, and it's very exciting that they have been able to help us document the project with interviews and footage. We're not sure. I keep wanting to tell Alexis that she's going to get a Pulitzer Prize for the documentary she creates, but it's something you all do that I don't think gets much attention, which is help document local stories in neighborhoods of things that are happening. Thank you.
Mike. Yeah, appreciate that.
Does anybody else have questions? You know, everybody's just listening. Okay, Anita, and don't forget to unmute.
And I am unmuted. Hello. First, the more I learn about Amherst Media and what it brings to the town, the more I see it as such a valuable resource. But Jim, both you and Artie have mentioned about how people are cutting the cord. They're leaving cable, and I'm sure that has a financial impact on Amherst Media. It's something that Dee and I have talked about briefly. It has, if I were to discontinue my cable service, can you quantify what you would lose per customer, or is there a way to ballpark that? I'm just wondering if that could also be a piece of what the public learns while you're teaching, especially people new to town, the value of Amherst Media, and somehow uncouple the fundraising and the revenue generation a little bit away from how it's embedded in that contract.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question, and one that people, no matter how many times people used to think that we were always getting tax money. We're not. We're getting a fee subscription. So if you're not a subscriber to cable, in this case Comcast for Amherst, then you're not giving money to us. You could be a donor, you could be a number, you could be an organizational member, which the league has been in the past, and we appreciate that kind of support. But to the point, we're still at about 6,500 households are subscribers. That's down about 1,000 since when I started back in 2007. I expected it to be more dramatically lower than that by now. When asked why, I think 2 things occur. One is we know that it's an older population in Amherst that are the subscribers, older being older than 35. And it tends to be the younger people that don't even think of becoming cable subscribers. With that, there's a bunch of stories that go along with that, but to keep it on point is as we go down in subscribers, I've been pushing for a town municipality, a municipal owned broadband since 2013, trying to get the traction of getting the town to realize Leverett, Northampton, Westfield, South Hadley, Springfield right now are all either have done it or are in the process of becoming municipal providers of broadband. And with that are a bunch of reasons why that is good. One of the reasons is if we continue to lose subscribers, then there's that point where you cross over, right? You're going down in subscribers. And if you had municipal, you could bring in a little bit of that percentage to make up the difference, to keep us at least level. I'd love to engage with the league on that further. Another way of raising funds is that Mass Access, which is our statewide organizing advocacy group, has put forth a bill a couple years ago. It's still in there And it's a bill to charge for what's called over the top, meaning Netflix, Amazon, all those people that take advantage of the telephone wires that cable has to pay us, right? The town for use of, they're using for free. So the state's looking at putting a fee on those providers, which 40% would come to municipalities. 40% would come to access centers across the state because we're the most dense state in the United States for access centers, over 250 of us. And then the 20% would go to the state for managing it. As you can imagine, there's a few people not too pleased with that. They have a lot of money, but this is sitting in the advanced technology it's a committee meeting. It's a co-committee meeting. The body that I'm going to be getting more information on in about 2 weeks, because it's sitting there. It's not dead, but it needs to be kickstarted, and it's got a lot of support. Both our Senator Comfort and Mindy Don both signed on very early. So, I mean, we're getting that local support. So we're being creative as much as we can, but it's going to need a point. What if there is no municipal broadband? What if we continue to get down to let's say 3,000 subscribers? Our budget would be cut to about $140,000. Now we're running this organization on about $280,000. That's 3 full-time people. We try to give a living wage. We're paying rents. We have a lot of insurance, multiple insurances to be, officers and directors, et cetera, et cetera. So we make up the difference by membership, by doing Production Plus, where we go out and we used to shoot the TEDx talks for Amherst College and get paid fairly well for doing it. We just recently did Professor Oates tribute at UMass. We were hired by UMass to stream that for them. There's projects that we do, but we can't charge a lot of money. But we are trying to make ourselves a production component too. That, as Meg was saying, we do have the capacity, and we're going to have to make money one way or another. We can't do everything we're being asked. And I think the public aspect, we talk about the government a lot, transparency, but when you add up everything we've done, while we were moving, we covered the Juneteenth. We covered the Gay Pride up in the Mill District. We covered in about 4 other major events while we were moving. So if we hadn't done that, there would be no historical documentation. So it's one of those that we need to be, and thank you for bringing it up, because people don't like to talk about finances, but in reality, we all know it's very tough out there. And when people say like whether the Jones is going to be going back out to raise more funds locally, I was told that the bid is going to hold off for a little bit on their bandstand for fundraising. Hitchcock Center got a $220,000 that needs to be matched. We've been up against Survival Center, Hitchcock, since the day we announced we were going to move and build. So we've had that kind of, well, you're second in line or third in line when we get these other things done. And I really, hope some people realize that that's not acceptable. And really, I mean, what we're talking about here tonight is we can't do it without you. You can't do some of what you do without us, in the past historically, to get the biggest bang for what you try to do, to reach as many people as you reach. So that's why I was very excited about tonight and just starting this dialogue. I don't expect us to finish it, hopefully tonight, but maybe to get some going. So the financial thing's very real. And
Thank you.
Good. Notice that Maury Adjo raised her hand.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maury. I'm a freshman at Amherst College, and I'm writing a news report for my class. And I saw this flyer at the Jones Library when I was there the other day, and so I thought this would be like the perfect opportunity. I've actually lived in Amherst like my whole life. I went to Fort River, and then I also went to the high school before I went to boarding school. So obviously I love the town, and it's really important to me. So I guess speaking from like a personal perspective, I was just wondering, is there anything that I could, take back to my peers to help support your efforts? Because this obviously sounds really important, and something worth investing, my time and my energy into. So I was just wondering if you have anything for me to take back.
Are you directing that at any one of us or?
I mean, anyone, yeah, I guess. Just in terms of, like helping your fight towards, free speech and just sort of that tension with the local government. Yeah.
Are you writing for, is it a local news, college-based newspaper or?
No, this is just for a class assignment.
Okay. I'd love to have you come over and meet with the staff at some point and potentially, and consider covering the town from a college perspective, if you have the time. And, and if not, we'd be more than willing to tie you into other things that we have going. As we said, we have an Amherst weekly report with a lot of interns from the colleges. I think we have one from Amherst College at the moment, and some from Hampshire, a number from UMass that are being trained in media. And it may be, I think your history of what you just said, growing up here, going to Amherst College, that intrigues me a lot. So we could set up a time for you to interview with the staff and our interns or myself at your convenience. I mean, what we're talking about here tonight, if you can pull away some of this, that's fantastic too. It's a big issue. It's the league could give you more stories than I ever could, as far what they perceive as the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 confronting the town.
That sounds awesome. I also had a question of where this recording was being posted so I could reference it for my assignment.
So I can answer that. This recording will be posted on the League of Women Voters website.
The Amherst League of Women Voters.
The Amherst League
Yeah,
of Women
yeah.
Voters.
Make
Thank
sure
you,
you
Jim.
do that.
There's a lot of them out there. You know?
Yeah, the Amherst League of Women Voters website. Yes.
May we give that website address, please, Ash? It's lwvamherst.org. And as was mentioned, there's so many other websites. So lwvamherst spelled out.org. Great questions, Maury. Thank you.
And Maury, I was just going to thank you for your question as well. Darcy, sorry if I can just cut in for one moment. And just I would say, another thing that Jim mentioned, right, again, I mean, Amherst Media has memberships, and joining as a member allows you access to come in, to use the computers, to use the equipment, to rent. And so if that's something, I acknowledging that students don't always have a ton of excess cash, having been a student before, but it does allow that. But and then telling other colleagues, other friends, other classmates, about that you were able to hear this. Again, one of the things that I appreciate about Amherst Media is hearing people's, local people's voices, and students are a large portion, a portion of the local voice that should be heard. So encouraging other people to come and talk, as Jim said, find time to go to the facility, talk to the staff, get out there and meet people and talk about it, because that's where, and then talk, tell your friends, tell your other classmates about us as well, because that's another way to just a lot of people, again, there's a lot out there, there's a lot for us to consume, and we don't have unlimited time. So helping steer yourself and other people that that you care about to things you think are important is one way to help as well. So thank you.
Oh, Andrea, you're muted.
I think Darcy's hand is up.
Darcy's up. Darcy?
You're muted, Darcy.
Sorry. I just had a question for Jim, and that is, before the pandemic, the town council was really not that good about being prompt with getting videos up for their committees. But during the pandemic, they did get much better about posting things and being prompt and so on. And I'm wondering if it seems like this must be a phenomenon in a lot of other communities, that the local municipal governments have learned how to do this, you know, how to post their Zoom recordings, and, you know, kind of pushed aside the local, you know, public access media organizations. So I'm kind of assuming it's not just Amherst where this has happened. So I'm wondering if you've seen that, and also, you know, I personally feel like it's really important to have the transparency of having the backup of an independent organization putting out especially the town council meetings and the finance committee meetings. With the new council, though, we also have these super important subcommittees of the council, and the town is covering those. So it's all kind of confusing because of the new setup and the fact that COVID has really changed things. I'm just wondering if you've seen the same type of thing happening in other towns and what they've done.
Every town and city is slightly different. And some towns have worked very closely with the access centers to use some of the American Recovery money to make sure they had the right equipment to be able to upgrade. That didn't happen here in Amherst. What you're saying is absolutely true. I mean, I think I said it in what I was saying, that it's here to stay. Online viewing and participation is here. It's not going to go away. And we are all aware of that. It's a question of how a town wants it to continue, right? And that's going to have to be, we're encouraging a discussion. About a year and a half ago, I think you were still on the council at the time, I made an offer to the council saying, with all these added curation issues, we could be subcontracted at less money than hiring more people for IT to help keep that flow going in a managed way, because we've been doing it since 2010, and the town didn't respond. So there's roles. I mean, but it's a question of what they're willing to have a third party do versus do all inside. And you know, and what you hear from the inside, and this is not putting down people, is that they're being given more and more to do. You know, not more people to do it, but more and more things to do, right? And that they're not, it's time consuming. And we know that. We do it all the time. We know how much time it takes to do these. It's not just, oh, click it and put it over here. It's a lot of work. And, you know, and so I can't answer what everybody's doing. What I do say for us here in Amherst is we need to have an honest conversation, and it's got to be honest, and it's got to be forthcoming. I think there's a lot of things we can do together and make Amherst stronger and more community participation, but it needs discussion. It needs real meaningful discussion.
Right, and there are many, many events and activities related to the town that that the town doesn't cover, you know. So I think there's plenty of opportunity. So, but it just needs to be worked out. And you know, we kind of have to adapt to the new normal, you know.
Yeah. Artie just put in the address for anybody that wants to. Alice Swift said she keeps getting knocked out, but she wanted to see what happened. So I just sent her that, but it's in the chat, the actual address, you know, the way it is. And it's really a good thing to, you want to access it or have somebody that wasn't able to make it. That would be good to get that across to them, that they can actually access it, you know. Okay. It's getting on that time, but does anybody have any questions before I ask them to? Bonnie? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to put in a word of thanks again for the help that Amherst Media gave to the forum that we ran on the sheriff's candidate at the end of August, because you had your women came over and helped to run the cameras, and we really appreciated that. That was a great cooperative effort with the Northampton Open Media. And also at that point, we had talked a little bit about the idea of syndicating perhaps the program or the recording of the program on the sheriff's candidates to various local cable, community cable organizations. And I just wondered if you could comment on what kind of cooperation there is among Northampton Media, Amherst Media, et cetera, and how that works.
Sure. Well, because that was specific to the county, right? It'd be county-wide access centers. So we have different ways of sharing. It can be as easy as a YouTube and downloading. We have another way of sharing server to server. We're having trouble with what's called RTM, and I don't even know how to explain it. But other access centers, we're working collectively right now. One of the projects that we just did was the Arts Hub of Western Mass just got launched about 2 weeks ago, and we made slides, if you will, and sent it to all the access centers in Western Mass, and they're now using them to promote for organizations and individuals to go on in line, set up themselves on that. So we're trying to be more collaborative. We just cut a discussion with the Feinberg series at UMass, which we had covered when the Ellsberg series was last year, 2 years ago, and repeated it on cable because so many people were unable to see it online stream. We're doing that again with this Imperial America series. We'll be unrolling that statewide through all the access centers. Now, I don't expect every city and town to want to run American imperialism just though they should, by the title, but we'll be doing that. So to answer your question, we're working more and more collaboratively to build a base, right? To show that strength of when you have a forum that's Western Mass wide or county wide, to bring in those other access centers. So it's a thing that's been discussed, and we're trying to help lead that charge and making that happen.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'd like to say thank you so much for Amherst Media and all the things that you have done. And we have been big supporters because we do believe in public access, and we do believe in having an uninterested party take care of our town government in terms of those kinds of things, et cetera. So we're just encouraging you to keep on fighting and keep on going forward, because it's the future, and it's going to be very important to not just college students, but all of us in terms of getting information, and as we begin to try to figure out how to do all these wonderful things that you do. And I met the two young ladies at the block party, and I'm getting ready to take a lesson in podcasting from Alexis and other people. They're just dynamic, and they really are. So congratulations on the two of them as well. And you have a very, very enthusiastic board, and I just see positive things happening. No matter what people do, positive things always come right through. So if anybody would like to make a comment or anything, by all means, before we leave, please let us know. No? Yes?
Okay.
Welcome.
And I have one, the league has asked us to get your feedback, and there's a very simple poll. And if you could click on that poll.
Do we have it? Is it
yes.
Working? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you click on it, it'll come up, and there's like only 3 or 4 questions, and they're very simple to answer. And the league would appreciate that. So yes. Thank you.
In other words, before you push leave, just look at those questions, answer the 3 questions, and then leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Artie. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are looking forward to seeing what happens, and we're looking forward to the groundbreaking next year. So that's going to be very exciting. So anybody that wants to either join or buy a brick, I don't know, you still selling the bricks,
We take checks.
I owe you a couple of
Yeah,
bricks.
thank
And
you.
anything that you want to do to, or just go by and just look at it. I can't wait to see the new digs for right now, and then the new ones when we actually have a built new Amherst Media. It's going to be very exciting. But anyway, thank you both very
Yeah,
much.
and thank you, Andrea, for organizing this, and thank you to the league for inviting us and letting us come and talk. I've really enjoyed, again, hearing you, and again, having the conversations that here, which is again one of the things that I really value about Amherst Media, is hearing people's stories and having that. So thank you all.